Title: I found my wife's old phone in the garage. What I discovered when I turned it on shocked me. I never thought a Saturday morning in the garage would change everything I believed about my life. It started as a simple task. I was looking for the old power drill we hadn't used in years. That's when I saw it, wedged behind a stack of cardboard boxes, half covered in dust. My wife, Emily's old phone. A relic from years before our marriage. She had mentioned it a few times in passing, that she kept it for sentimental reasons. But something in me urged, maybe foolishly, to turn it on. It was one of those moments where curiosity and dread collide. I wiped the dust off, pressed the power button, and waited. The screen flickered, then lit up, asking for a passcode. My heart skipped. I didn't know it, and neither did she, that I had a backup trick for this scenario. A few attempts later, and the phone unlocked. The first thing I saw was the gallery. Hundreds of photos, but not the ones you'd expect. No baby pictures, no family vacations. There were pictures of her, sure, but with someone else. Men I didn't recognize. Lunches, coffees, long drives, smiling, intimate, secretive. My stomach turned. My hands trembled as I swiped through. Each image more incriminating than the last. Then came the messages. Hidden conversations in apps I hadn't even known were installed. The language was playful, intimate, sometimes flirtatious, but there were also mentions of meetings, trips, things she never told me about. I felt a sick realization crawling over me, slow and heavy. The Emily I knew, the woman I had trusted with my life, had layers I had never seen. She wasn't just keeping secrets. She was living a part of her life entirely separate from me. I stopped, took a deep breath, tried to rationalize, tried to tell myself maybe these were harmless friendships, harmless moments from before we met. But the timing didn't add up. Dates, places, times, most were during our relationship. Betrayal isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it's quiet, insidious, buried under ordinary smiles and casual, I love yous. And right now, it felt like I had been living with a stranger. I put the phone down for a moment, my mind racing. My garage suddenly felt smaller, heavier, like the walls themselves were pressing in. I remembered all the little things I had brushed off over the years. The unexplained texts she hid when I walked by, the sudden late nights with coworkers, the vague stories that never quite added up. I had trusted her implicitly, but now trust felt like a fragile, broken glass in my hands. Curiosity won over panic. I opened her email, which was still logged in on the phone. Every notification, every draft, every sent message seemed to whisper a story of deception I had never imagined. There were hotel confirmations, dinner reservations, even tickets for events she claimed she forgot to tell me about. And then came the final blow, an entire folder labeled us, which she had apparently never deleted. Inside were months of messages between her and someone named Daniel. I stared at the screen for what felt like hours, trying to reconcile the images and words with the woman I had married. Daniel. The name repeated in texts like a haunting echo, each one more intimate than the last. My mind refused to accept it at first. How could she? Why would she? But the evidence was undeniable, vivid, and brutal in its clarity. It wasn't a one-time mistake or a lapse in judgment. It was a consistent pattern of secret meetings, careful planning, and deliberate hiding. My heart pounded, but somewhere deep down, a part of me had anticipated this. Those nagging suspicions I had ignored for years, the tiny inconsistencies I had rationalized away. They were all there, like pieces of a puzzle I had been too trusting to see. I remembered a quote I once read. We see people not as they are, but as we want them to be. That was me. I had wanted her to be perfect, loyal, unshakably honest. Reality didn't care about my expectations. I debated for a long time whether to confront her immediately, or gather more evidence. The logical part of me wanted facts, dates, patterns, anything that would leave no room for doubt. But another part, the wounded, raw, aching part, wanted to throw the phone across the garage and scream, demand answers, demand explanations, demand the truth in its entirety. And then I saw something that made my blood run cold. A series of photos from just 3 months ago, showing them together at a place we had gone as a couple, smiling in ways that used to belong exclusively to us. This wasn't the past. This was now. And suddenly, I realized something devastating. My life, my marriage, the trust one had built, had been quietly, meticulously rewritten without me knowing it. I put the phone down and leaned against the workbench, my chest heavy with disbelief. I thought about Emily, about the life we had built together, the plans we had made. The mornings I woke up beside her and felt safe, loved, and secure. That life felt like it had been a mirage. A carefully constructed illusion, she maintained while secretly living another. I knew I had to confront her, but I also knew I needed control over my emotions. Rage, desperation, accusations. They would only cloud the truth and give her room to manipulate the story. Instead, I started cataloging everything I had found. Screenshots, timestamps, sequences of events. All laid out logically, meticulously. If she was going to explain, lie, or deflect, I would be ready. This wasn't just about proof. It was about reclaiming my power, my dignity, and my clarity. When she came home that evening, I was waiting, not with tears, not with yelling, but with a quiet intensity she had never seen before. Emily stepped inside, cheerful, oblivious to the storm I had carried for hours. She went about her routine, unaware that I held a silent mirror to her duplicity. I asked her to sit down. Her smile faltered, curiosity replacing casual confidence. "What's wrong?" she asked. I didn't answer immediately. I let the silence stretch, let the weight of anticipation fill the room. Then I showed her the phone, the messages, the photos, everything. I watched her expression change. First shock, then panic, then the recognition that the illusion had crumbled. I didn't scream. I didn't beg. I simply said, "I know everything." The room was tense, fragile, like walking on glass. Emily tried explanations, partial truths, denials that dissolved under the clarity of evidence. And in that moment, something shifted inside me. I realized this wasn't just about betrayal. It was about truth. About knowing, finally, who she really was. And deciding what I would allow in my life moving forward. I left the garage that night carrying more than the weight of anger or heartbreak. I carried clarity, vision, and the unshakable understanding that some illusions, no matter how comfortable, are dangerous to cling to. And while the road ahead would be painful, uncertain, and filled with difficult decisions, I knew one thing. I would never let my trust, my love, or my life be quietly stolen again.